Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Making Sense of It All. I'm your host, Jesse Sakes. Today I have Caleb Garrett. He's the Director of Development for the Coggin College of Business at the University of North Florida. Caleb, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jesse. Appreciate it.
So it's kind of a mouthful to say, but go ahead and tell my audience, what does the Director of Development at the Coggin College of Business at the University of North Florida do?
Yeah, sometimes it can be a confusing title. But I mean, the main idea is I'm the fundraiser for the college. I'm the chief fundraiser for specifically the Coggin College of Business at UNF. I've had people email me thinking it's software development or it's all kind of other things that people maybe assume I teach. But no, this type of role is very common in nonprofit and higher ed and healthcare, and it's working with our donors and our business partners.
Interesting. So when you're in specifically with the Coggin College of Business, not with the overall University of North Florida, correct?
Correct. So how it works is, and this is pretty common across higher ed, is we'll dual report to the college, to like the dean, whoever, or the leader of your academic unit, and then to the UNF Foundation. So technically, I report to both of those. But the idea is that if I'm working with a company that's really involved in the college or an alumni of the college, you want someone who's in the weeds a little bit, who knows, who knows former faculty from the college and knows some of the stories and knows about the program. So each of us in the different colleges, we are kind of the subject matter expert in our college, and then we're deployed to go work with our donors and alumni.
That's fantastic. I know we're going to dive into it throughout this episode, but what was it that originally inspired you to get into fundraising for higher education?
Yeah. So no one or very few people, no one studies college and studies in college like fundraising,
Yes.
and maybe some people do like nonprofit leadership. They're aware, but I went to school and I didn't realize as I was, going about my studies that there were people at the college that were raising money for scholarships and that were supporting the university. So I didn't even know this was a job for the longest time. But I have an interesting path where I went to school for biblical studies. I worked in a couple of churches, and through that got plugged into a great nonprofit called One More Child, and it used to be Florida Baptist Children's Homes. But I got, as I was working at that church, I ended up becoming familiar with that organization and made a move over there to do development at that faith-based organization. And that's when I started to learn about this whole other world. And I was taking classes through Indiana University. Is fun, people don't realize it. They're it's like the Harvard of fundraising. The Lilly School of Philanthropy is out of Indiana University. So I did a certificate program there. But so started to learn about this field and really enjoyed that nonprofit, loved the work they're doing. But wanted to really grow, and the big shops really in fundraising, a lot of them it's higher ed and it's healthcare systems.
Okay.
So in my mind, to kind of advance my career, I thought, well, I'd like to go be part of one of these big shops. And that's what I did, and have found in higher ed, something that I didn't realize like I'd be so passionate about. So I remember going to like our first scholarship luncheon and
Okay.
thinking to myself, like, well, the events we'd have at this organization, One More Child, I was at, they were doing foster care and working with single moms, and there was a lot of like tearjerker type moments.
Right.
And I remember thinking like, well, we don't really do that really at UNF. And then I hear like the first story about this student who, oh my goodness, who like had to work all through high school to support his mom and his siblings, and drove up to UNF for a music audition and had to drive back like the next day to work his shift at like Red Lobster or something. I mean, it was like a wild story. And you do realize like the impact that education can make. Like it's truly a life-changing thing. So have become, it's like so many things, I think, in kind of people's careers. I didn't know I'd be passionate about higher ed in the same way, though I have degrees and I enjoyed my time in college. Hey, I've really come to see the importance of higher ed and like really like UNF. So I grew up in Orange Park and grew up
Okay.
around here. My wife went to UNF, And I just think it's a really also important institution for the region.
No doubt.
Yeah, I kind of fell into fundraising, and now have I've been at UNF for about 7 years now, and love it.
So in the 7 years that you've been there, how much have you seen your director, like your job as the director of development change? Like, is it something that's been the same the whole time, or is it morphed over those 7 years?
No, yeah, that's interesting. It's so like I've had different roles. So I started as assistant director of development at Coggin, the College of Business, and then moved over and for a couple of years I was director of development for the College of Computing, Engineering, and Construction.
Okay.
So so both really the professionally kind of focused colleges, a lot of industry engagement there. Um, but yeah, so what I'm seeing, what's interesting is um, UNF is just a young institution, started in
Mhm.
1972. So we have more and more alumni now that are reaching what I would call like prime giving age. They're not, I mean, you and I, we're kind of in the wealth building phase of our lives, and
Sure.
we have kids at home and we have soccer games and those kind of things. But most like larger donations and individual donors, they're going to be older than us, and they're going to uh, not be in the wealth building as much as the deploying that wealth. So it's interesting to just see that even over just 7 years to see more of that. There's a lot of corporate involvement at UNF because there are companies in Jacksonville that want to hire students. But I'm seeing more and more of our alumni or just community partners that think UNF is important. Seeing more of those individuals get more plugged in, and that could have
That's
been part of my role, as I was more corporate in the beginning. But I'm seeing more and more individuals when I get back.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic, and I think that's so key when you're talking about something that is a young university. You're starting to see that first generation of students that actually can give back. So I think that's absolutely fantastic. Is there anything else that you're seeing in the community itself that is kind of shaping what UNF means to the North Florida community?
Yeah, I think one thing that, this is big, kind of one of my big talking points, something I'll probably talk about later too, is more something UNF is doing. I think is we've made this commitment to experiential learning. So we've said starting last freshman class last year, every student that comes to UNF has to check a box that they completed an experiential learning opportunity. So that can be internship, study abroad, project with a company. But the idea there is we're in Jacksonville, we're not in Tallahassee, we're not in Gainesville. We have like companies. I mean, I drive down Gate Parkway and you see Deutsche Bank here, and I mean, all Dun& and Bradstreet, PaySafe, all these companies right in our backyard and downtown.
Right.
Uh, so UNF has always had this, where we've had this kind of strong industry engagement. Um, but now I think, making it official and putting some kind of teeth on that and saying, okay, then what we're going to commit to is every student has this type of experience so that even if you're working 20 hours a week, 30 hours a week, you're going to come out with some sort of experience that's going to be nice in your resume that's going to help, make you more relevant in the job force. So um, that's uh, that's kind of a response to the business community also of, you probably see this, but I hear this all the time with some people that are working with younger people and younger professionals. They don't have the same like soft skills,
True.
right? So you hear that a lot. So we're kind of, I think, balancing that out or kind of countering that by saying, all right, well then student, you need to be doing internships, you need to be working on projects in your courses with companies. So you can start to develop those things rather than just being dropped in corporate world, and with no relevant experience or even understanding of how do I dress? How do I, what do I do?
Right.
So I think that's been more of a response, I think, from us. But some of that is the response what we're hearing kind of the business community too.
Well, and I mean, you guys do a fantastic job of partnering with people like Junior Achievement, and you guys have the SBDC that's right on your campus there. You have a lot of ways to incorporate people, whether it's coming up from a younger generation or down, like in learning things that maybe they missed. You guys give a lot of opportunities on your campus.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, we have. Gosh, I think about. I was telling someone the other day. I have Google alerts for that Herbert University Center, which is our kind of main kind of gathering place on campus for the community, because there are so many events that are on campus all the time that sometimes I don't even know about. But that I don't even hear from like internal systems. I have to like find out elsewhere. Because yeah, there are so many opportunities that, you know, professional organizations, companies are here on campus, and maybe they're engaging with professional lifelong learning, which I used to be like continuing ed.
Yep.
Uh, but there, I mean, yeah, that's, I think it's any university, but it's this whole ecosystem that, um, if we're not talking to each other, even internally, yeah, sometimes you don't know what all is going on, but lots of opportunities for the community to engage. And I mean, even with athletics and a lot of what they're building over there is great. But yeah, lots of ways to partner.
No doubt. I want to kind of pull it back a little bit to your experience in development, fundraising, and donor strategy.
Yeah.
Like for people who don't understand what this looks like, can you walk my listeners through kind of a day in the life? What does it look like for Caleb?
Yeah, yeah. I just from people I know, like in sales, I imagine that's probably the closest kind of comparison that we have.
100%.
So yeah, we have certain metrics we're kind of expected to meet as far as dollars we're raising, as far as meetings we're having. So there are those things that are kind of always kind of ever before us. But it is there's so much of like I think what I enjoy about it is there's so much kind of an art to it about um, if I think about an alumni who maybe hasn't been as engaged. I think of someone who moved to town recently. He worked in New York for 40 years for his career. He relocated back to Ponte Vedra,
Okay.
and I had I was able to pull that up and find out that information. So I was able to reach out and say, hey, when's the last time you got on campus? Right. To get him on campus to help him, maybe feel the nostalgia a little bit, but also see the growth. And but this is someone who really hasn't been engaged at all. So bringing it back on, hey, here's what we're doing now at UNF. Hearing his story, and he was a veteran, kind of non-traditional student. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's there's this aspect where it's very, and you'll hear this kind of fundraising world. It's very like donor centered.
Hmm.
So you're trying to work with whatever that prospect is, whatever that donor is, and understand what makes them tick, and then kind of matching that opportunity. So like with this gentleman, we were able to drive around campus. And we were able to talk about his experience, and I'm listening for what are the things that you know changed it. Some a lot of times, some people thought, hey, UNF changed my life because I had this professor and this person opened up this whole new world for me. So I hear that, and then I think about, hey, would you ever be open to supporting, X? And that's like a very sped up version of normally the process that normally doesn't always
Sure.
happen that quickly. Um, but uh, but yeah, it's a lot of. I think maybe one of the differences between fundraising and sales is there's probably a lot more listening and fundraising because
Well, and I think there's a have to, like when you're selling something, typically somebody is looking to buy something. They're looking
right,
they're looking for something in return. Whereas with when you're getting somebody to donate money, there is a benevolency to it. There's something
yeah,
they're not necessarily always looking to have something returned to them because of
yeah.
this.
No, exactly. So it's the listening and understanding what kind of makes people tick, what what their reason for, like, why did they even take the meeting with you? Folks that are, high net worth and kind of that we would work with most of the time, donors, they're the ones, they do know what my title is because they've met other directors of development. They
No
know
doubt.
development or advancement. They know that this person wants to ask for money. Um, so normally there's a sophistication that they understand kind of what I'm doing. Um, but being able to hear their story and then make the connection, and it's beautiful when their story and whatever their passion is fits perfectly with, well, here are the goals of the university and the goals of the college. Um, Sometimes those don't always mesh, and you have a
Sure.
donor who's like, well, I'd like to give toward this. Like, well, that really is going to like cost us more money in the long run, in the long run. So that's it. I always I recommend to colleagues, probably have a copy of it behind me, but It's about Crucial Conversations. It's probably like my favorite like leadership book ever. But it's all about having kind of difficult conversations. And that is like most of the job is listening and talking with donors, understanding what makes them tick, helping guide them sometime to understand, well, this is maybe where we're heading. Is that something you might be interested in supporting as well, you know? Uh,
You're saying your kids have no shot when it comes to negotiating with dad when you get over.
yeah, no, it's I'm way over their head. Yeah, yeah, most of the time, yeah. But that's for certain people. I know some younger people like just getting into fundraising. Um, yeah, like for me, that's like I didn't realize this was a job, but it's perfect for my personality. I love meeting new people. Love, I'm genuinely a pretty curious person, so I normally, uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So if you can connect with people and um, normally and tell the story, and you literally enjoy literally enjoy people or like genuinely enjoy people is what I'm looking for, then yeah, it's been a great career for me, and yeah, I enjoy it.
That's fantastic. Do you find that sometimes the whys kind of become very similar when it comes to like the donors that you have? Is it very similar reasons why everybody is donating, or do you find that there are many varied reasons why people choose to give to a school?
Yeah, that's interesting. It's yeah, varied reasons. Yeah, everyone's kind of got their own story. Um, but there's this book, and I won't be able to recall them all, but there's a book called the Seven Faces of Philanthropy that tries to kind of index those. Uh,
Mhm.
and I do so the ones that I remember I do see pretty regularly where some people were raised, that's just how their parents raised them, is that we give back to the community. You're kind of a member of this society, so we need to give back. So sometimes there's this like communal aspect. Sometimes it's this personal story. Like I said, I was with a donor not that long ago, and he said something. He essentially said, "I didn't realize I was poor until I went to UNF, and I saw what other kids had, and I thought, oh my goodness, like." And thinking he reflected back on his growing up and the life he has now. Says, I really owe everything to my education as far as where I've now got financially. So for him, it's this very personal, not this community thing, but it's this personal, like this was a really transformative experience for me. I'd like to maybe help other students. And then there's some that's interesting where it's this is kind of what high society does is you're involved in boards and you're involved in galas and you're involved in some of these initiatives because you know a higher education institution in like especially a regional one like ours, it has a huge impact on the city.
Sure.
So we have folks that really their support, they're not alum, but they've been kind of pulled into the ecosystem because, well, they're like Jacksonville people, and they think that because the workforce development is often a big part, or even just the contribution to the arts or contribution in these other ways, they think that's important. So yeah, everyone's got a different story and different buttons, and that's kind of the job is seeing what buttons make people tick. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. Do you feel like as Jacksonville's grown, because we've experienced some exponential growth over the last 5 to 7 years, like how much has that sped up the growth of UNF, and has it changed the people that are willing to get involved philanthropically?
Yeah, I think big time. Yeah. So like we just had a record year in fundraising for the foundation. And actually we still got a month left. It already hit that record number. Um, but it beat so up until this point, the I'm trying to think how to say this, but the record year prior to that had been a few years ago when we had $20 million worth of land donated.
Okay.
So this year we didn't have a $20 million land donation and still have beat kind of that record. So I mean, we're seeing a lot of uptick, and I think a lot of that is, yeah, we have, incredible, not just amount of people, but also incredibly wealthy people moving to the region. You think about Ponte Vedra Beach, think about just um, we work with a couple different. It's funny. There's like there's some retired executives that are
Mhm.
in Ponte Vedra, or maybe a lot of people don't realize that. Oh, this person was a CEO of X company or an executive at some of these very large companies. Um, but they've all kind of moved. A lot of them have moved recently. Yeah. So we have worked, especially in the business school, trying to get those people engaged. Maybe come speak to students, right?
Sure.
Maybe come, a lot of those executives and people, who have retired or toward the end of their career, they want to give back and they want to share their wisdom that they've acquired over the years. So so that's kind of one way we've kind of engaged people, and then eventually getting them to the point where, hey, well, you see how great these students are. What do you think about supporting scholarships or supporting things like that? But no, the growth of the region, I think, has big time, helped us, but also um, it helps us, I think, make our case to the business community too
Sure.
of hey, the region's growing, your business, a lot of the businesses locally are growing, and you need that workforce. And UF is bringing kind of their graduate campus, which that's going to be a great thing for kind of graduate education. But the thing that moves the needle for workforce development is it's undergrads. It's the thousands of undergrads that you're just churning out for entry level roles and who
No
are in
doubt.
the workforce. Yeah. So that helps us make our case. I think the growth helps us make our case to the business community too.
So with that being said, like what do you see as the biggest gap right now in the Jacksonville business ecosystem that UNF can help fill? Like as you're going out there and pointing at, hey, here's what we can do for you guys. What is that right now?
Yeah. Um, yeah, the biggest gap. I'm trying to think like what I'm hearing. So, because
So I'll go like when
yeah,
I'll hear it sometimes in meetings where people will say that the lack of skilled labor or specialized labor when it comes to, and I'm just throwing something out there, just like aerospace.
yeah,
Like I know that there are some very highly specialized fields that have come into the Jacksonville, Florida or North Florida area that they maybe 20 years ago we weren't even thinking that direction.
yeah.
So I think some of those things are what I've heard.
No, yeah, no, that's kind of where my head was going, is that, but because I was thinking back to more of a more recent that we've already kind of responded to. A few years ago, we were hearing that from like Jax USA that it was data analytics, that we have companies wanting to move to town, and they don't know if they have the talent for yeah, to in the data analytics space.
Right.
Um, so we responded with a graduate degree and undergraduate degree, kind of jointly with the College of Computing, some overlap there. We've heard the same thing, but probably the more recent example, I think, and what we were kind of been responding to is fintech. So a lot of the major players, here locally, FIS, ICE, like PaySafe, Dun& Bradstreet, some of all those in that ecosystem. Um, yeah, they're all in the fintech space, and and it's the students that can speak the tech language and the business language, and sometimes they're weighted more fin or weighted more tech, but being able to speak both languages, I think, has been something we responded to recently. Um, yeah, but when I think about it though, I think the issue is just volume. A
Right.
lot of these specific areas, I think we need shipbuilders. I've heard that from TNL, and I think fintech and construction management, professionals is always good. But I think what I hear more often is across industries, we need twice as many. And that's UNF's trying to get there. So we've had a record number of freshmen, new freshmen, with our last freshman class. Um, and our strategic plan has us growing from our 17,000 now to 25,000. So we're trying to grow with the city, so that we're providing that talent. But yeah, I would say more than specific gaps, it's just talent in general, volume.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, and we've talked about it a little bit, but we've had such an influx of people in general come into this area. There's a need for a lot more services. Um, the one thing that I think, especially as you start to bring in better jobs and as these companies are coming towards North Florida and Jacksonville, that we've got to be able to provide some of the skilled labor that they need
Yeah.
from the homegrown talent so that we're not losing, so that we're not having to bring in specialized labor from other cities, but also give our citizens a chance to succeed at home. I think it's
Yeah.
fantastic.
No, definitely. And it's, one of our big pitches we make to the state is that 80% of UNF students stay in Florida. But then also with that, about 70 stay in Northeast Florida, 70%. So I think some of that is just a byproduct of, if you intern with a company your sophomore year and you go back junior year, they've kind of sank their talons into you a little bit. So we see students getting roles and then end up sticking around. Um, Even though they come from Orlando, they come from the Southeast. A lot of our students come from Florida or the Southeast. But we've been a net gain for the region by retaining so many students here locally. Um, so yeah, I think that's huge for us. Kind of when I didn't think we make the pitch for support, uh, but also I'm trying to remember where where I was going with that. Yeah, that's helping these companies that are moving to town.
Yeah.
That there's homegrown talent. That was the point. Yeah,
No, absolutely. I think it's absolutely necessary. I think people have to feel like that they can be successful in their town, or at least they have a chance to be successful.
yeah,
So as things change, as things become more highly technological, as AI gets involved, I mean, it's all going to be very important that UNF is a very closely knit with our business community and the needs that they have.
yeah, yeah. So this was it was a big thing the end of last year, and they're still offering it, but we put out a free AI certificate at the end of last year. I think that was really well received. I know at Coggin we have executive education; they're doing training in AI. You can the person that had been tapped, I believe he's still in that role for our like continuing ed, professional lifelong learning.
Yeah.
Uh, Josh Gellers, he was also he is our kind of AI guru, our AI person. So I mean, you can imagine, yeah, that's been kind of the topic here of like, all right, professional, um, not just you know the undergrads that were graduating and making sure they have the talent, the skill set, but even upskilling professionals already in the workforce through continuing ed and some of those type of things. That's been important. Yeah.
No doubt. No doubt. Before we wrap this up, I got 5 questions that I want to ask you.
All
You ready?
right. Yeah.
All right. So number one, what skills or mindset do you believe young professionals underestimate but absolutely need to succeed in this world?
Yeah. I'm sure everyone gives like similar answers, but it's soft skills. But I particularly I've given this book to so many people. That book, Crucial Conversations, that I mentioned earlier. I have bought copies for so many people because it's one of the things that's like in the intro of that book is he says something like most of the problems that arise in business and in your life come from being afraid to have a difficult conversation or having a difficult conversation poorly. And I resonate with that because I'm probably naturally more of a peacekeeper. So I'm like, oh, that's fine, and I'll let kind of things slide. Or or people don't know how to like disagree well, and I think we see that everywhere in society. So I think particularly those soft skills, but the specific one of being able to address something that's an issue in a way that's constructive, that's not aggressive, but like assertive. That like I talk, my 9-year-old hates it, but I talk to him about it all the time. Assertiveness versus aggressiveness. Of like you can advocate for yourself, and but having those conversations, I think is it's a superpower. I think, yeah,
No, I think that's fantastic.
yeah.
If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice in your career, what would it be?
Ooh, in my career. I don't want to get too much in the weeds on something very fundraising specific, but um, I would say be a good coworker, because a big part of the work, you know, I am kind of the one of the external people kind of for the college, and so I'm kind of out at chamber meetings doing things like that. but our alumni, a lot of our alumni who are giving, they don't have a relationship with me, or I'm not the relationship that makes them feel warm and fuzzy. It's the retired faculty member or the faculty member who's been here 25 years,
Right.
and so I often, they're kind of very much part of the process too, as our faculty members and our leadership. Um, so as much as like external networking is important, um, internally and making sure like our faculty kind of trust me, but then also I know it makes them tick, and I work well with them. I think that internal networking is a big thing.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
What keeps you motivated?
Um, well, there is always part. I'm pretty competitive, so there's always like the number piece. I
Yep.
don't I don't mind, um, our numbers are kind of available for everyone to see, like how much all the fundraisers have raised, and some people like, maybe they squirm a little bit at that. I love it. That's great. Yeah. So that I think there's that piece keeps me motivated. But then I think I get the benefit of hearing all these amazing stories about people's lives who have been changed kind of through education. So since I get to go meet with all of these alumni and all these donors, um, yeah, I get a front row seat to hear about the impact, and that definitely keeps me motivated too.
That's very good. Um, with all of that, like as far as I mean, you're working with donors, you're working with alumni, you're working with community partners, you're working with internal folks. What's the biggest lesson that you've learned in your current role?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say, um, and I'm trying. This is probably not just one word, but I've learned kind of the importance, I think, of like coming alongside people, like and being more of an advisor than a like salesperson.
Hmm.
So I don't know if, I mean, I guess that's just something I've learned just professionally. Um, is when I come across as, hey, I'm here to help you accomplish what you want to accomplish at the university. Um, there's the level of like, I think, trust that's developed, but also it's a great experience because it's not a negotiation as much as, hey, how can I help you? How can we work together? So, and I guess I probably have then I thought of that because I've probably applied that elsewhere, um, in in other things professionally and even like outside the workplace of like we have a establishing kind of a shared purpose and establishing, hey, we're on the same team. That's something I think I've learned from this role that I've applied elsewhere. Yeah.
I think that's amazing. I think that's one of those things where you don't always get to learn that in a regular sales role as much as you do when you're working for something that's a common good. I think
Yeah.
that's something that fundraising gives you that other roles do not.
Yeah.
Last one I had for you. How do you define success at this point in your life, both personally and professionally? Like, what is your definition of success?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think, even though I'm, not anywhere near retirement yet, I have now been in like the fundraising world for long enough to say that I've gained like some expertise. And maybe this is like the former youth pastor in me or something, but I see the importance of like mentoring, passing on the knowledge that I've gained. I kind of naturally do that with a lot of our so like I'm a director of development. We have assistant directors of development, and yeah, I just can't turn it off. I love just sharing what I've learned, sharing the mistakes I've made. Not always positive examples, um, but I think that that's more maybe that maybe fulfillment more success. But I don't know. I think that's a sign of success. I'm like, not only have I been able to do well, I think in the role, but now I've been able to kind of like have that overflow into helping some of these younger professionals, and that's rewarding for me.
Yeah, I think that would probably I'd argue that that's more a sign of success than just hitting your numbers or being successful at your job.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Yeah, it's funny. It's hard sometimes to define success without using the word success.
yeah. No, I yeah. I've never like written out a definition of success for it, but I'm going to tease that out more. Something like that though. But being, yeah, and I think, it's being able to pass on the wisdom and the lessons learned. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think, well, very well put. So before we do wrap this up, is there any initiatives or any projects, anything that you want to share with the audience that the Coggin College of Business has been involved with, or that UNF has been involved with overarchingly lately that you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, I think I alluded to it earlier, but I think it's the experiential learning piece. That's a UNF kind of broad, initiative. Um, and then it's interesting to see how then that's going to play out in like every college. So for us, I think we're big about saying, hey, we're open for business. So if you're a company and you want to partner on like marketing projects, we probably have a place you could do that. If you have data analytics kind of issues, or maybe you don't have a big data analytics team or no analysts because maybe you're a small company, maybe there are opportunities for projects with us. So I think that's kind of the big new exciting thing, and it's something like I said we've always done just because we're in Jacksonville. But I think making it official has kind of, I hope, can send the message of, you know, every company, whether you are owned by an alum or you employ UNF students, should see the College of Business as a resource. You mentioned the Small Business Development Center too, which is kind of under the College of Business. So I think that's an exciting piece because we are seeing, I think, like corporate partners who hadn't really been that engaged, plugging in different ways. So yeah, I think the experiential learning is going to have ripple effects for years.
Yeah, I think so as well. If people like this, they enjoyed what had to listen to, and they'd like to learn more, or they'd like to get engaged or involved in this, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, there's of course like a UNF website. I would just say LinkedIn. If you find me on LinkedIn, yeah, I try to stay active on there. Try to post. Yeah, I think that's the easy place. Just search Caleb Garrett, UNF. You can find me on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Good, very good. We'll make sure everyone has links to that at the bottom of this video, wherever we post it as well.
Cool. Appreciate that. Yeah.
Caleb, thank you so much for joining me. I learned a ton about what the university was providing and what you guys are doing over there, and something about you personally too. So I appreciate you joining the show and taking the time to do it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jesse. It was fun.
All right, we'll catch you down the road.
All right, talk to you, man. See you.